Hey everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to our fourth installment of summer sessions. Today we're going to be talking about the 5 points of brow mapping. This to me feels like a really important topic, guys. I get a lot of questions about this from my students, and I felt like it really deserved some time today. So I'm going to show you guys the 5 points of what I do, and I'm also going to show you guys I'm also going to show you guys the tools that I use. I keep it really simple. I'm old school. I've only been doing this about 9 years. But I really like to just use simple tools to map. I don't get crazy with my tools, but those points I feel are super important when we're talking about where to start the brow, how to measure the brow, and where to kind of bring the brow out to. I also keep my shapes very classic. Hi, Nancy. I also keep my shapes very classic when I'm doing brow mapping. I know there's artists out there that will kind of go with trends, do some trendy stuff. I don't do that. Hi, good morning. I don't do that. Keep my shapes very classic. So one thing I tell my clients when they come in is there's like 1 or 2 brow shapes that most clients can have. So when my client comes in the door, I'm like already assessing what I'm looking at, where I think their brow can go, how I can kind of change and enhance the shape for them. And I always remind them that it's just that. It's an enhancement. We are not, good morning, how are you? Thanks for joining. We're not reinventing the wheel, guys. I always tell my clients that. The brow shape is dictated by what's already there. Even if the client doesn't have hair, it's dictated by the shape of the eyes, the size of the eyes, the space between the eyes, the muscle structure, and the bone structure, and any existing hair. So that's just a really important point that I tell my students also. When you're mapping, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not getting super crazy. We're not taking one brow off to make it match the other brow if there's like a crazy muscle pull. We're just not. At least I'm not. I mean, you guys, everybody is an artist. Everybody does their style differently. But that's not what I do. So I keep my shapes very classic. And there's 5 points that I map. So what I'm gonna do is just grab a microfiber brush and kind of point to the areas where I make sure that I am hitting and mapping when I do a brow. And I keep these always on hand, guys. These are little microfiber brushes, super handy. So when I start the mapping, the client comes in, I'm very close to them. I always tell my students you're gonna become best friends with your client, guys. I mean, you're gonna be, like, I'm in there. Like, I'm straddling them. Like, you really wanna get close and you wanna have a good, tight stretch. That's super, super important, because if you're far away and you're like trying to draw and you're not stretching really well, you're just not going to have a good, stable base to be able to get that shape in nice and crisp and clean. So point number 1 that I usually start with is the front of the brow, otherwise known as the bulb, right here. Now, this I feel can be really personal from client to client. So if the client has brow hair, all the way to where that point can actually start and be aesthetically pleasing, I will push it out to that last brow hair. But if the client comes in and their brow hair stops, let's say here, I'm gonna be really careful with how far I push this bulb in, guys. Even if we feel like the brow can come out a little farther, if the client doesn't have a lot of existing brow hair in this front part, it might not look natural. So remember, name of the game is to keep it natural, to keep that heel natural. So I always tell my clients, this front part is going to kind of be dictated by how much natural hair is there. And if the client's brow stops here, I might push it like right to the tear duct, right here. You know, just to make sure that we're not going too far past the point where the natural brow hair starts. I personally find as an artist that this part matters here. Like this is more, this front part here can tend to heal and look less natural if you're putting more color here where there's no brow hair than say like the arch to the tail. This part here from like this quarter down, I feel like you can really get in there with the color, get definition in there. And if it heals looking, you know, a little bit more solid, and if there's not a lot of brow hair here from the arch back, it's okay. Like it will heal and it will can still look natural. If you put too much color up here, guys, in the front, and they don't have a lot of brow hair, I find that it really can heal unnaturally. So I try and be really careful when I'm doing this front part and not extend it too far. Now, if the client comes in and they have a ton of brow hair in the front and you know, their brow hair can support pushing that bulb in close, go ahead and do it. You know, that front part is very particular client to client. So there's really two parts where you can push that bulb out to where it can still be aesthetically pleasing and make sense. It's all going to depend on how much space the client has in between their eyes and how much brow hair they have and how big the face is. You know, you don't want to push brows in really close together if the client has a small face and not a lot of space in between their eyes, because you're going to close the face up. You're going to make the face and the eyes look smaller, and we don't want that. We want to design a shape that opens up the eye and brightens the face. So 2 points where you can start the bulb, according to how I map, is the tear duct right here. So we can start it like right where the tear duct is, or the little divot of the nose here. So you can push it out a little bit farther and kind of go right where the divot of the nose is. That's kind of where my brow starts. Now, what you want to avoid doing, if you can, is not bringing this brow out to where it starts to curve into the nose, guys. Do not bring the brow down this low. It's just too low. It's gonna make the client look angry, and it's gonna just close that entire front middle part of the face up. You don't want to do that. So that's the first point of brow mapping, is that bulb. The second point that I map when I'm doing the brows, get my little hair there, guys, is the arch, the top arch. There's two arches, guys. There's a top arch and there's a bottom arch. So we do the top arch, which is here on me. If you need help measuring the arch, you can have the client look directly at you. You can put your caliper, your ruler, or your pencil right here, and you're gonna bring that point right to the outer part of the black of the eye. You're gonna put your pencil down, just like this, pull up and make a mark. I'm not gonna do it now because I have a client coming in. But that's the second part, the top arch. You're gonna put your pencil here. You're gonna go to the black part of the outside black part of the eye while the client's looking directly at you, and you're just gonna pull your line right up there. And you can see that that's pretty much where my arch is naturally. I have a strong arch. I have a very strong brow bone. The third part of the brow mapping is the tail. You wanna make sure that you're getting good, hi, good morning. You wanna make sure that you're getting good length, but don't overextend it. You know, you don't want the tails to be too long either. Any extreme in any direction is going to have the opposite effect of what you want. It's going to, you know, make the client look angry, or it's gonna close the face up, and we don't want that. We want the eye, when someone's looking at you, we want the eye to just travel, you know, very, very consistently through the 5 points of the brow, so that it makes the eye and the face look more open. If one part is off, the person's gonna look at you and their eye's just gonna go to that part that's off, and it's gonna have the opposite effect of what you want. So tail is the third point. I like to make sure that my tail kind of stops at the last lash. So again, if you need help measuring that, you're gonna put your pencil like right here at the end of the nose, go to the last lash and pull up. My brows are coming a little short today, guys. Don't judge. Don't judge me, guys. It's Friday. And you're gonna pull up and you're gonna mark here. Again, are these like, You know, are you gonna die on this hill if the client wants you to push the brows back a little bit? No, these are points, guides. You're gonna do the drawing and the mapping that's aesthetically pleasing for the client, but these are really good points and guides for you guys to use. So first part, bulb. Second part, the top arch. Third part, the length of the tail. Fourth part, guys, is your bottom arch. It's really important. It took me a long time to kind of realize there was a bottom arch when I was learning brows. And I feel like it makes a huge, huge difference. This bottom arch here, guys, should always push a little bit past the top arch. So I'm gonna get close. If you guys can see, my top arch is here. My bottom arch is here. So the bottom arch should always push a little bit past the top arch. This does two things, guys. This gives you like a classically shaped brow, and it helps to create an arch without the brow looking too pinched or triangular. Do it today, guys. Practice on paper. Practice drawing some brows. Do a brow. I'm gonna kind of do this in the air like this. You know, if you're bringing that bottom arch up and bringing this down and then making your top arch kind of pointy at the same point, you're gonna create a shape like this, guys. You're gonna create a shape that's pinched and triangular in the middle. I promise, try it on paper and you'll see. When you push the bottom arch out and elongate that bottom arch and bring that top arch just a little bit shorter, you create a lifted effect minus the pinch, minus that like triangle effect. It creates a very classic, beautiful shape with an arch, but it's not pinched. So when you're practicing your brows, when you're drawing your brows, make sure that bottom arch always starts a little bit past the top arch. So if your client's top arch starts here, push their bottom arch out to like here. That means this line under here, guys, is gonna go straight until here. And this one is gonna stop here. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. I'll try and do a visual later, put some visuals up so that you guys can see. It makes a huge difference. And it's a very small change, but I find that it sets my students and myself apart from brows that are just like, you'll see what I mean if you do it on paper. The last and final point is the middle part, this part here. You wanna make sure that you are dissecting that face in half as much as you can. So that's your first point, the middle. Second point, the bulb. Third point, the top arch. Fourth point, the tail. And fifth point, the bottom arch. If you guys can master these 5 points, your brow shapes will be nice and classic. You'll create a beautiful arch without creating a pinch, and you'll make sure that you understand where the brow should come in and how far it should go out. Now I'm going to show you guys the tools I use. So easy, so simple. Microfiber brushes, calipers. I like these calipers better than like the long ruler style. I use a China marker to draw, and I just take a little razor blade and I make sure that this point is really angled to get nice clean lines. It's just a regular China marker, guys. I use this also to map my string. So when I'm working, I use embroidery thread. I just never got in the habit of like buying pre-mapped string. I use embroidery thread, guys. I get it from Walmart. Hi, Julian. I get it from Walmart. It's super cheap. This will probably last me over a year. I cut a length of it like this. I take the middle part of this pencil, and all I do, let me get one actually for you guys so you can see. This is such a good trick, you guys. All I do is take this string, this pencil. This is actually a second one that I use just for marking the string. and I just pull this string through the China marker. What was Bethany Frankel saying? So delicate, so demure, so delicate, so demure. I love her. I'm like obsessed with her lately. Thank me later, guys. Here's your mapping string. This probably cost me 1 cent. And I will have this pencil for like a year, and I will have this spool of thread for like a year. And then you're just gonna go in and you're gonna use this as your mapping string, guys. So easy, so inexpensive. Save yourself money if you can, guys. I mean, this was such a good trick that I learned. Those pre-mapped strings, they can be pre-marked strings, can be really messy, and they're very expensive, guys. There's no point in using that. So those are my tools: calipers, microfiber brushes, China marker, a razor to sharpen your pencil, an embroidery thread, and a little pair of scissors. So easy. I hope you guys enjoyed this 5 points of brow mapping. I'll try to have some visuals up later. My client is here, so I do have to hop off. If you guys have any questions, please send them. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I really do feel like those little tricks that I've learned help me just nail that brow mapping every single time in under 10 minutes. You guys do not need to spend a lot of time brow mapping. Don't reinvent the wheel. Work with what is there. You are so welcome. This is one of my favorite topics, and if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. I can send you like little drawings, little visuals. You know, it's once I learned to work with what the client had and to not, you know, get crazy with totally reshaping their brow, my brow mapping changed like that. I used to spend an hour to an hour and a half mapping people's brows. Guys, that's crazy. That's crazy. There's no need for it. Work with what's there. Use these tips. Stay within those boundaries. And your brow mapping, it should not take, yes, it used to take me so long. Your brow mapping should not take you more than 15 minutes, guys. Even the hardest cases. So please message me if you guys have any questions. I hope you have a fabulous day. We're gonna keep these lives going because I really enjoy it. I really enjoy teaching you guys and talking to you and learning from you as well. So hit me up with any topics that you guys want to talk about. I'll talk about anything. I'm game for anything, guys. Have a great day, and I will see you guys soon.